Internal security challenges are a thorn in the side of the federal government and, of course, the states as well. Whether it's in the north, south, east or west, just about every part of the country has felt the heat. On this episode of the program, we will be taking a look at the imperatives for security sector reform, the need for improving internal security as well, and also we will be looking at the implications of emerging regional outfits in some parts of the country. In the latter part of the program, we would also illustrate the importance of medical records as a tool for boosting activities in the healthcare sector. I also do have Elizabeth here with me in the studio. She will, of course, be bringing us the media review segment. What's the outlook for the segment for this episode?
All right, on the media review segment, we shall be taking a look at media reportage of security challenges. Of course, crimes are committed everywhere across the globe, but how well has investigative journalism been able to help us uncover crimes in our society? Does the media just leave it to security agencies, the task of protecting lives and property? These are some of the areas we shall be taking a look at on the segment.
Oh, that's quite nice. I would say we're right on track. So let's start things off with talking about the issue of security in our discussion segment. Now I have joining me in the studios a public affairs commentator and security analyst, Michael Kayode Ajayi. Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me.
We're confronted with it would seem with a hydra-headed monster as far as insecurity goes in Nigeria. There is the crisis of insurgency in the northeast. There is the farmer-herder clashes across the country, of course, with the crisis of kidnapping in most parts of the country as well. What, in your opinion, is the common denominator that ties all of these crimes together? Is there perhaps a reoccurring decimal to these crimes, as it will seem?
Anyway, when you are talking of a common denominator, obviously, it is desire to make money at all costs because of the constriction nature of the economy. When an economy is not expanding, definitely you are going to have the level of crime will be high. It is when the economy expands and able to accommodate the unemployed skilled workers, whether skilled or not skilled, they have a job, they have a livelihood, then it tends to stem the level of crime. And the nature of this criminality that is responsible for the acute level of insecurity in the nation is, spread across the nation. And depending on the type of structure of the economy and the society in that area, you have a sort of specialized type of crime. Let me take it from what we generally know, that is the Northeast. The Northeast has been the hotbed of Boko Haram, where you have a high level of insurgency. And each successive government, not only this government alone, have been trying to fight it. Unfortunately, during the first tenure of this current president, he was able to control them. But somehow, it is now getting out of hand. So meaning that we have to step up. So in that area, you have mostly Boko Haram taking over the whole area. When I say taking over, I mean that is the kind of crime that is prevalent, insurgency. But when you move down to places like Adamawa, Adamawa State, then Taraba, it goes beyond Boko Haram, you now have another kind of insecurity. And that is mostly maybe cattle rustling, banditry, kidnapping, and so on. Then when you go to Northwest, you have cattle rustling, very, very high in that, the level of cattle rustling is very high in that area. Then the illegal gold mines in the area of Zamfara has also been a point of attraction to criminals. In fact, of recent, the chief spokesman of Nigerian Army mentioned about 5 local governments that are highly concentrated with bandits. And as you know, bandits they attack you, they deprive you of your wealth. That is the objective. And every attempt to see how they can meet them halfway to prevent the level of banditry that is existing in that axis, that is Zamfara, Kebbi, and Sokoto State, Northwest. It has been very difficult. Because I find it very funny when you say you are negotiating with bandits. They don't have leadership. It's just like any camp. They go, any individual can become a bandit. So they are not organized lots. Although they were trying to apply the South-South solution, where you are negotiating with the youth there who are fighting for resource control. It's very easy to negotiate with them because you can identify their leaders. But bandits, they don't have leadership. So when you say you are negotiating with them, I don't think we are honest. They are criminals and they should be treated as such. So in Northwest, you now have kidnapping for ransom. You have a high level of cattle rustling, and then bandits are everywhere in Northwest. You come down to the Southwest, it takes a different coloration. Here you have high level of armed robbery. You have kidnapping because of the commercial nature of those areas. It's very easy to kidnap a high-profile individual and thinking of making a huge sum of money, ransom from it. So you have more of, in fact, armed robbery now is even more dangerous. It's for anyone who wants to venture into such crime. They prefer the easy one, the easier one, which is kidnapping. So kidnapping is very rampant in the Southeast. They kidnap you for ransom, armed robbery, and so on. You don't have much of cattle rustling in Southwest. But in South-South, you have people who are breaking the pipes and so on and so forth. You also have
so essentially, what ties all of these crimes together?
And cultism.
Yes. So essentially, what ties all of these crimes together is the quest
for money.
For money.
Yes, because the economy is not expanding. And you see, when the economy expands, the level of crime will go down. When the economy is constricting, the level of crime will go high. That is the assumption.
All of these that you've pointed out are issues, topics or discussions or variables that come up when we talk about internal security challenges.
Yes.
Policing is central to internal security.
Yes. And
incidentally, in our society in Nigeria, where we are, policing is exclusive to the federal government.
Exactly.
Do you consider that as a challenge, especially when you look at the clamor or you look at those proponents now of those lobbying, proponents of states, people lobbying, proponents of state police, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Would you say putting policing on the exclusive list, just on the preserve for the federal government, is a challenge?
Yes, I would say it's a big challenge because the present structure of Nigerian police is central and is on exclusive list. And the Constitution states it very clearly. Section 214, Section 215 of 1999 Constitution as amended gives the exclusive creation of police in the hands of the executive. The states cannot have their own police force. So there shall be only one Nigerian police force, and no any other force shall exist. Section 214, Section 215 of Nigerian Constitution states that clearly. But then, nature by it abhors vacuum. When you begin to have insecurity all over the country, and the police cannot handle, definitely, the people must have to create a way to protect themselves. And that is why you have this, the emergence of Amotekun and so on and so forth. Don't forget, even before the emergence of Amotekun that was conceived in Ibadan in 2019, there had been the existence of OPC in Southwest, Egbesu and Bakassi in South, during the time of Mbadinoju, we had, Bakassi there. And we had some vigilantes in the north. For Boko Haram, you have a civilian joint task force there. That one was a child of necessity. But this one too is a child of necessity. During that time, the police was able to fight these local forces and kill them. But eventually they are coming up again. They are coming up again because I remember the time Michael Kiro and Adam, the head of OPC, they were really in a tight battle that time. in Lagos State. Then Okiro was the commissioner of Lagos State. And he was able to fight the OPC because the OPC, while it was established with good objective, they were not going out of hand. So the police had to come in to stem them. But now, the level of insecurity is so high that there's nothing the police can do except the police begin to reform itself. Now, we were talking of community policing as a means of trying to nip insecurity in the bud in the states. Unfortunately, much as we have been hearing it from the police authority, they have not really practicalized community policing, and that is the problem. One of the programs I did suggest to the IG that if you are really serious about community policing,
one of the recommendations,
yes, one of the recommendations I did mention was that you must, one, evaluate your strength vis-a-vis your budget and the kind of and nature of insecurity problems you have in the country. Now, with a police force of 400,000, and with 1/3 of these 400,000 detailed to high-profile Nigerians, how do you think they can effectively cut the level of insecurity? Two, the budget of the police is also very poor. The police, nobody takes the police very seriously. It is when you are attacked or denied of your right that you now start crying of the police. Go to most of the police stations. They don't have vehicles. They don't have batteries. They don't have, how they fuel their vehicle is only God knows. They don't even have stationaries. So we play with the police, and you demand so much from the police force. So it is very clear that there's no way the police can function. Even the community policing requires a special budget on its own to create it. I will give you ideas on how to do that. So when you have 1/3 of Nigerian police protecting the elite of the society, the wife of the Senate leader, the wife of members of National Assembly, all of them have police force. In fact, to the extent that, let me tell you that the mopole is being commercialized. You have money, you get mopole. That's not the objective of why mopole is created. Mopole is created to take care of internal insurgency. Now, the mopole is no longer performing that function again. You now have the Nigerian army coming in to assist. And that's one of the problems we have. So community policing requires special budget. I read of recent that the IG says he wants to recruit constabularies, local. That is not the solution. You should start, first of all, inside what you have. And I recommended that from the rank of inspector, chief inspector, down to the grassroots, send them back to where they come from. Then from the rank of ASP and above, you can put them across. Because language is very crucial to community policing. You must understand the language of the local people. You must understand their culture. Of what use will it be for you to send a Yoruba man to the interior of Hausa land? He does not know go and come. Even while he's in the beer parlor where he's supposed to gather intelligence, they will be planning to kill him and he doesn't even understand.
You've mentioned the project.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're talking about community policing.
Yes.
Are these enough for police reforms to transform the Nigerian police into a proactive civil organization that can adequately tackle, anticipate crime and address?
It's possible for Nigerian police to do that. That is, if you empower them. What you are giving them now is 1/3 of what they need. So there's no way you cannot get water out of a rock just as easy as that. The police needs to be funded seriously, and I mean it.
How would that translate to affecting commitment and
that is what will lead to the creation of all this
and improving also quality of personnel.
Yes, that is it. Crime has gone high tech now. I read in the news of recent where the professor, with due profound respect to the governor of Borno State, he's a very active governor and highly respected. He was saying that he needed 100,000 soldiers to solve the problem of Boko Haram. Even if you send 1 million soldiers there, it's not going to solve the problem, because the level of crime and the kind of insurgency in the Northeast requires high tech. Crime now is high tech. You don't need human beings to be running after criminals. Right in your office, you can detect them. You can use drones to detect where they are, their enclave. And back to what we were saying, The police force requires a huge sum of money to survive. Another problem they have, you see, you need to really study why there's this problem. When they send in their budget, what is appropriate to them is so little. Then when it gets to Ministry of Finance, releasing this money as at when due and when they need it is also another problem. You need to go and be lobbying for them to give you money. If I were the IG, I would have removed the police detail to the Minister of Finance, so that he can realize that the common man on the street is not safe. But because they are safe, members of National Assembly are safe, they are being given special consideration, it will not allow us to remove the chaff from our eyes. The police requires that. 2, the IG has to reform the Nigerian police. The traditional police force of arrest and investigate and prosecute, it has gone beyond that. That is the traditional rule. We already know them worldwide. But community policing requires you posting policemen to various communities where they will partner with the community. And as I said before, it requires understanding the language, the culture, and so on. Imagine you want to give an intelligence to a police officer, and you are now looking for an interpreter because the man doesn't understand your language. Of course, the intelligence is lost. The man is not safe because he's giving you a secret information. But if you are living in your community, you will know the bandits that invade forest. You will know their tracks because you are living in the community. They can come and whisper to your ears. You understand their language. In those days, in the 60s, when we lived with native authority police, in those days, the people are more comfortable with the native authority police than even the central police force.
Beyond police reforms now, let's take a broader look at security sector reforms.
Yeah.
How expansive can it get?
Yeah.
For us as a country?
It has to be expansive. No, just as I told you, there is no reform you can do with Nigerian police without talking of money. Money is the issue first. If we are serious about reforming Nigerian police, put the money on the floor.
Not just the police now,
this general security.
Oh, yes, general security now. We are talking about an entire sector.
Yes, we have so many agencies. You have, what is it called now? Civil defense.
Yes.
They carry arms now. I won't count customs because they are the border. Immigration, they are the border, most especially. But the civil defense and the Nigerian police force are those in charge of internal police. And just as I told you before, you need to put a lot of money on the floor. When there's money, there's going to be good thinking on how to do it. Then, a lot of what Governor Rufai also submitted a report to the presidency on state police. And up till date, the white paper on it has not been out. It is not even out for people to discuss it. The elite must understand that the present police structure is antithetical to the principles of federalism. In federalism, you must have state police. You can't run away from it. You cannot take one part of federal principle and throw the other way around.
Is there a clear-cut federal system of government? I would think that every nation develops its unique federal system of government.
Yes.
Is this not the one that that applies to us, that we perhaps want?
No, it is the emergence of the military Nigerian political arena that led to the centralization of the police force. Before we were having native authority police, you are even having the local constabulary. In those days, we called them Saturday police. Okay,
great. But let's quickly stay on the issue of reforms here. Yeah. And when I made allusions to how expansive you wanted the security sector reforms to be, I wanted your opinion on, because I do know that in some clients you have different or several security agencies.
Yes, particularly in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. You have them mainstreamed between two principal groups. Yeah. Either the military and or the police, or the military and the police.
Yes.
Do you think such a system can work for us here in Nigeria, where we have organizations like the DSS, like the civil...
You have the DSS.
And all being mainstreamed into either the military or the police? Or would that make for proactiveness in tackling crime?
The DSS particularly is a very good force, but has not been very popular with the people. Particularly, you don't see them saying that we have arrested XY insurgents and so on. We need more of that. And they also need to be empowered. You need to provide the logistics. I want to see a DSS operating drones, using high tech to get crimes. But okay, let me give you a simple example now. A kidnapper. You know, when GSM came, we clapped. We were very happy. That for me at that time, I was looking at it from the angle that it will help us to reduce level of crime, because you can, if you attack, you can easily use your mobile to attack. But now the criminals have taken over it. They are taking over the GSM.
Let me quickly ask you there, since you've brought this up already. Are Nigerians, do you think Nigerians are personally invested in security, or they are perhaps used to this social construct that the police, it's the sole responsibility or principal responsibility of the police?
No. I don't think, Nigerians don't believe that no, I don't think any reasonable Nigerian would think that security is only the responsibility of the police. In fact, everybody.
Are we doing enough personally?
We are not doing enough. We are really not doing enough to help the police. And again, the police too must create that trust. And that is part of community policing. There is this trust that if trust is engendered, there will be cooperation. Here, the local people don't trust the police in terms of giving them information. And that's why you see some people being almost, lynched on the road. Nobody calls the police. Because they believe that if they go there to give an entry, you are first of all arrested. So that trust is not there. So the trust must be there between the police and the local people.
Very quickly before I let you go, what are the priority areas you think government can quickly attend to in boosting security in Nigeria?
The first shot, one. First of all, just as I said, everything revolves around money. You want to reform Nigerian police, it is a huge budget. Two, you are now having the emergence of regional security system, like the Amoteku in the east, and so all of them are emerging. They emerge they are child of necessity. So they emerge out of necessity. The government was coming to find a solution to that one. They cannot kill it, because since on the short run, they cannot adequately provide security for the people. So they must
there's plenty to talk about security. I mean, when you talk security,
there's a huge area.
Yes,
it's a very huge area, and it takes a lot of...
We hope to bring you back to the studio so we can talk some more on security sector reforms. Thank you so much for joining us. This is where we draw the curtain on this segment of the program. We have been speaking with a public affairs commentator and security analyst, Michael Kayode Ajayi. So thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, up next is our interview segment, where we did promise you that we will be talking about medical records and how they impact on activities in the healthcare sector. Now I have a professional joining me in the studio to shed more light on medical records and how they impact on activities in the healthcare sector. He is the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer, Health Records Officers Registration Board of Nigeria, Mohammed Mami Ibrahim. Welcome to our studios here.
Yeah, welcome.
Let's begin with the keyword medical records. And of course, records for all intents and purposes helps with planning. I'll bring you a very quick scenario here, in terms of information management and how it comes with regards to the health sector. We have an issue like Lassa fever on our hands right now, and this has been a reoccurring decima for us for a couple of years now. Is it that we're not doing enough in terms of managing records or information management in the health sector when we have something, or when we have an epidemic on our hands like Lassa fever reoccurring each year and claiming more lives during each episode?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, we need to know what is in medical records. Medical records is just a systematic documentations of history of patients' illness that occur within jurisdiction of a healthcare provider. And if it goes by that definition, that means we need a proper documentations. Now going to your question, whether we are not doing enough or we are doing enough in terms of keeping records. Actually, some of these diseases can be tracked on what we call front. Front, it simply means you do some, whenever a case is coming from a particular area, there's this, you see some increase in certain signs and symptoms. And after a short time, there will be a break. Then it's going to increase again before the final outbreak. So if you have proper documentation, you'll be able to track this kind of incident before it occurs, because it's coming. And then our healthcare distribution system too is not very, very encouraging, because it's at the tertiary level that some of these things is being announced. And at that time, it has become a fatality. It has become a death must have occurred before they now start tracing. If this kind of diseases can be tracked right from the primary healthcare center, where people are advised to go there first at their first point of call whenever they have any issues, then to secondary care, where you will have more specialized people. So, but because everybody feels that when they are sick, they will go to the bigger hospital, and by the time you go there, already it's already been a fatal case, and if care is not taken, we lost the patient.
How can we create linkages so that something like Lassa fever becomes a thing of the past? For instance, can you use this particular case of Lassa fever as a scenario, as an example for how linkages can be created to curb?
Well, the system is already there. It's only the application of the system that there's faulty on it. We have linkages right from the primary health care at the local government level to the secondary care at the State Ministry of Health level, and even up to the Federal Ministry of Health, where all these informations have been communicated. But because the proper documentations is not even done right from the beginning of the thing, because the right channel of communicating these diseases is through patient medical records. Patient came to the hospital, make presentation, was seen by clinicians or healthcare provider. He treated and go record, collected those files, do analysis, and see where these patients are come from. So where there's this such information, we can now create leakage, and then we will report to the, now it's called Center for Disease Control. In those days, it used to be called epidemiological unit, where these diseases are reported. And you see, we play a very vital role when the Nigeria was addressing the 6 killer diseases of tuberculosis, measles, and the rest of them. That program went well because every healthcare provider has a role to play. But now there's concentration only in one area, that everything is pushed to Center for Disease Control. And what is happening in other small healthcare facility is not being properly reported. And Center for Disease Control in most cases only come in as an intervention to address some of these outbreaks, but these diseases doesn't occur like that. First, most of them is at environmental conditions. We'll say animals that were living with us, like rat, is the one that is carrying the Lassa fever virus, and even the rat doesn't even know that it's carrying it. So if we do a lot of proper documentation when we are having these cases, definitely we can be able to prevent this incident before it occurs. And in addition to that, we can even predict where it's going to be the next outbreak, because by the trend, the way it moves, where these patients are coming from, we can do a follow-up. And by the time we do that kind of follow-up, we'll be able to identify where actually we're going to expect this. Because some of this, as I said, it has to do with the environment that you are coming from, cleanness of the environment, and habit, of course, our culture, our way of life too also contribute to that. Like you see, the cases of Ebola and the rest of them, it affects people that were familiar with dealing with particular animal. So if we have proper documentation, everything centered on proper documentation, and that is what is not there, that is what is lacking. There's no proper documentation and there's no follow-up to that documentation. So they just bring anybody to come and collect record, and only what you are interested on, that is what they pick.
No proper documentation, and there is a challenge. It's not very clear to me right now, but I don't know if you'll be more elaborate and tell us how ICT, for instance, can help bridge some of these gaps that you've just talked about. And also would like to know where we are in terms of ICT application in information management in the health sector. Would you say we're above average or below average?
No, we have not even started. Well, because we are making efforts, but we are not even starting in the right foot. We are not starting in the right foot. We have a lot of challenges. First, the IT itself is a very expensive project, and because of the cost involved. And then two, we are not yet there in terms of power supply. So if we say we want to go fully on ICT, which we want to give us a lot of challenges. They're going to be a break. We're going to miss some of this info. But it's a very important tool that we can use to track some of these diseases. And it can make communication easy by mere click or button. You can get what you want. But the foundation has to be laid. The foundation completely is not there for now.
We don't have it on ground.
We don't have it there now on ground, because if what we are saying in the area of record collection, data collection process, we have challenges in data collection process.
You mean in the public health system, right?
In the both public and private health system, because you see, people are trying to collect this data. It's not something that you can come and do, just wake up and say you want to collect data on medical, and that has to do with a specialized branch of medicine. Because, for example, if you have a medical doctor and nurse who are always available in terms of this outbreak of diseases, it's not trained to collect data. And that is not its primary responsibility. Its primary responsibility is to care the patient. And the nurse is to manage the patient. So it cannot combine its own function of providing care for the patient or treating the patient, would still come back and be collecting data. So if the record officers are in power, they were there on ground to collect this, so they will be able to do pre-analysis before even the incident comes, and can be able to advise, and can do post-epidemic when they say, okay, last year this is what happened, what is our plan for next year, and which area these kinds of cases are coming from. So we'll be able to do that analysis and make a very useful presentation to the authority, where they can use to do their planning, and we'll go, at least if you cannot stop the outbreak, we can minimize the outbreak.
You've talked about the ideal situation. You've talked about the current realities on ground. Your board is a public agency. Why are you not sounding the alarm bell?
Well, the little we can do, we are doing it. It has to do with some regulation. The laws are there, but you see, the ability to enforce the law is a little bit difficult, because the law establishing the board only gives us opportunity to prosecute, and it is a long process to going through that prosecuting process. But and in addition to that, the management of the hospital too, they are not even engaging the right people to do this job there. So, and it will be very difficult now to just walk into any hospital, public hospital, and say you're closing down that hospital because they don't get the right people on ground to do that job. So that has been a little bit challenging, but we are creating awareness, and I think there's improvement now to some extent in the area of recruitment of the head record officer, that will be able to collect that. Once they are in power, they will be able to, if they are there, because most of the government hospitals, you find a hospital that have close to 500 beds and you have less than 20 or 30 head record officers.
What's the average estimate of professionals in medical records that we have across the Federation?
Well, it depends on the facility.
Let's take for public health institutions.
Well, for public health institutions, like when you are talking about primary health care center, if it covers 24-hour service, at least they need at least a minimum of 5 record officers to manage a primary health care center that have between 25 to 50 beds. And at least in each shift, you have one on duty. It can be assisted with other lower cadre, and by the time you get that, at each of these primary health care centers across the 774 local government, you will be able to track this information. Then if you have 1 or 2 at the local government health department, where we'll be collecting these data from the primary health care, and he will be compiling it and then sending it to the State Ministry of Health. And by the time you have 5 or 10 at the State Ministry of Health that will be compiling this data coming from various local government, they will be able to now send information to the Federal Ministry of Health. So, And then in the secondary care, you shouldn't have less than 25 head record officer for a secondary care or a specialist hospital where you have so many specialties and you have an average patient turnover of about between 100 to 200 patients a day that you need to analyze their data. Once you have that at that level too, you can be able to get a meaningful outcome. And of course, in the tertiary health institution, you should be looking towards 100 health record professionals that will be able to manage, because it's a larger facility with a high patient turnover. Researches are involved and a lot of them. So once we get that one, then what I can tell you, there's even some public hospitals today that doesn't have even a single health record officers. So not even to talk of the health department of the local government. You can check any health department of the local government and say you are looking for a record officer that will be collecting this data and sent to the various agencies. You won't get. In most state ministry of health, they don't even employ. Most hospitals nowadays, they don't even employ. So you can't get this data. So we'll only be doing this kind of approach whenever there's an outbreak. We'll just go and make an arrangement to treat the patient, and we don't, whatever is the document you get from that level, that's all. Because look, the disease is coming from a local government or even from a political ward. That is why the disease is coming, and we have a primary health care center there. So if this information, if these data were there, being created, being seen by clinicians, and it's being forwarded to the appropriate agencies, definitely you'll be able to arrest the situation before it occurs.
Is it possible that the absence of a record health officer, perhaps in a hospital, whether public or private owned now, the absence of a record officer could make a patient be wrongly diagnosed or treated based on the availability of record?
No. That may not necessarily happen, because the important thing is that anytime a patient finds himself in the hospital, whether you have a record officer or you don't have a record officer, there must be documentation. Somebody will do the job. Where you can have a wrong something, if somebody that is keeping the record for you, for both former and informer patient that is present before you can mix up the records. What belonged to Mr. A was given to Mr. B because he does not have the knowledge on how to arrange those records. That may not lead to wrong diagnosis, but if there's proper document, it can misguide the doctor. Even common age, maybe somebody is 30 years and you put 3 months or something like that, those kind of things, the age does not reflect the patient is seeing before him. So if you have a trained personnel, definitely it's going to aid, it's going to assist for doctor to make correct diagnosis, because what the document you have before him is actually guiding him on the right direction. So it's very important too to guide the clinicians on how to make his final diagnosis based on the way the record is arranged for him. But that is not, it cannot lead him to make a wrong diagnosis, but he can make a mistake because of the information before him is contrary to what he is saying the real situation.
I suspect that since you're not happy with the pace at which we're going with regards to ICT, application of ICT in information management within the healthcare sector, I suspect you may also not be happy about the pace at which we're growing within this sector as well. Are you satisfied with the adaptation or adoption of technology and advances in the rate at which it is currently in the medical sector in Nigeria?
Yes, in some specialties it has gone, most especially in diagnostic aspect, it has gone very well. We use a lot of electronic gadgets to do some diagnosis, do some laboratory investigation. It has gone there. But in the area of record keeping, definitely we are still at the start point. We have not even started. Because as I say, it is when even a department exists. That is why you are thinking of having even electronic record. The department that's supposed to be existing, what you normally find is a card room. And I say the only way you can see this profession being practiced very well is in the teaching hospital. But what is the percentage of the teaching hospital in the country? They don't have the larger, they are just about 5.5% or even less than 5% of the federal health institution, where what happened to there's no local government that does not have a general hospital in the state. So if a state has about 23 local government, then you are expecting about 25 general hospitals. Then in each local government you may have 1 or 2 primary health care centers. So, and those are where these patients are coming from. Any patient that finds himself in the teaching hospital is coming there maybe under almost at a certain stage. It has reached where they will say point of no return. You have gone there, you want to see a specialist. It's not every case, you go and see a specialist. You need a general practitioner who are at the primary level and secondary level to first assess your patient. And if those records are there, you'll be able to guide people at the teaching hospital. But a consultant will be just handing off, even starting doing the job of a general practitioner, still clerking the patient instead of him to use his specialist knowledge on what is to go to do, because somebody have already seen the patient before it reaches the stage. So the record actually is not being properly documented at the primary level, it is not being documented at the secondary level. And if assuming, like the case of Kanu, it took them time to trace even where the patient come from, because it happened when they have already lost a very senior doctor. But if the front application has been applied by checking the signs and symptoms that have been appearing, the type of disease that are coming to the hospital, all these diseases have their signs and symptoms. And by the time you see 2, 3 coming from a particular place, you'll be able to raise an alarm that look, there's a danger coming in front of us, so we must try to do something. And when you are approaching that season, because these things, it's seasonal. In most cases, it happens during dry seasons when maybe they are sent out as a result of bush burning, or they must survive. They are looking for food, and the food is no longer there again during the dry season. So they now need to run away, and they will come and mix also. So we'll be able to identify some of these things. We'll be able to say their rate aloud to the planners that look, to the public health physicians, look, we should start planning to do. As it worked when we were doing this expanded program immunization for this 6 killer disease, it worked effectively. So why can't it work now? So if it's, some of these things, whether they may be political tone to it, I don't know. But when we are doing the expanded program immunization or to address the 6 killer diseases, we were able to make a great impact. We have record to do that, but everything now changed to immunization day, Lassa day, cancer day, and since it's come cancer day this day, and there's NGO support, there's money attached to it, people's attention have shifted to that. So the work in the hospital is no longer being properly done. So they only go for hospital for curing instead of going there for preventive, even to stop it. You can stop it. You can even stop it from occurring. Early detection can assist, or early detection data must be there that look, if there's proper documentation, we can detect this disease early and it will go ahead in treatment. So we can reduce the casualty level.
Let's get your final words, and it will be based on some of what you've said, or in fact all of what you've said, that how critical and important your profession, medical records, is in the health sector, or rather in boosting activities in the health sector. What would you say is responsible for the low number of professionals now in the field, and how can we engender more participation or get more professionals to join in the practice?
The professionals are there, only they are not being engaged, that's all.
You think?
Yes, they are there.
How many registered members do you have currently, for instance?
Well, at least for technicians, we have close to 30,000, which are the lower cadre, and for officers, we have close to 15,000.
Do you only register members who are in practice, or do you register members as well who have just left an institution?
Once you graduated, we will register you, and if you are practicing, we will renew your license everywhere. So we can be able to detect with the number of people that register. But if you don't have job, people don't renew their license because they are not practicing. But they are there. They are there, but still, if all the private hospital will employ a record officer in their field, they will be able to assist in collecting these data. So some of the cases are even lost. It's only what comes to the teaching hospital that you will get record of. What happened in the primary care, in the private hospital that people go, it's not recorded, it's not documented. So in most of these things, but the records are there, but nobody trying to bring it out to analyze. So they are not employing them, and they are training them, and they are generating revenue from the training. So you go to record department, you find people that are not qualified there. You try to send them away, they become your political issue. Union will say, why do you want to sack people? This one will say, why do you want to sack people? I'm
sure this discourse would speak to many people out there watching who would need services of members of your registry, of your board, medical records board. I'm sure this will speak to a whole lot of them out there watching us right now. Thank you so much for coming to the program. We have been speaking with the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the Health Records Officers Registration Board of Nigeria, Mohammed Mami Ibrahim. Welcome, and
thank you.
Thank you for coming on our program.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Well, up next is the media review segment with Elizabeth Omorui.
Crimes are committed every day across the globe. The question is, who will uncover crimes? Government, media, or society? My guest, who is Editor-in-Chief Global Sentinel, will provide answers. Mr. Senator Iruegbo, it's nice to have you in our studio.
Thank you, Lizzie.
All right, every time I call you Senator, I'm like, really? But that's actually your name.
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about security challenges.
Okay.
Now, what is the role of the media in reporting security as a whole in terms of reportage?
Okay. The role of the media is still traditional and functional role when it comes to security. It still apply to inform, to educate,
Okay.
to also set agenda, you know. They will help to inform about what is happening in the surrounding. If there is bomb blast now, the media have to report about it to let people be aware that certain areas there's state of insecurity. You know, there have been certain times they say, media should play it down, shouldn't report. But if you don't report and people walked into den of lion, yes. So because there are pros and cons, we've considered it. There's no how you're going to keep quiet. Are you going to keep quiet if people are being killed? Those ones, they have family, they have soul. You can't treat human beings as if they're just a dispensable commodity. So you have to inform. Then you have to educate. That's where more work needs to be done. Educating people that, look, these people that are killing Nigerians doesn't define us. There are certain people, they don't represent a whole of this, even though they profess certain faith, but it doesn't represent. That's where the education comes.
Okay.
Then setting agenda is to be able to also propel government. Now you have to look at your security architecture. Is it working? There's time, like you had the issue of community policing, state policing. The media has been on the vanguard talking about it. This is agenda setting. You see people writing opinion about it, back page column, speaking about it on TV, on radio, in various ways. These are ways that media are setting agenda on what to do.
You actually made a statement. You said some persons say that crimes should be played down.
Yeah.
Why?
They feel that, like for example, the terrorists, which is actually fact, but we are torn in between the need to know and the need not to be a channel that fuels the terrorist propaganda. Because media is also the channel through which terrorists breathe life.
Okay.
Because they love it. The more you report
about
them, the more they feel empowered.
Let's talk about security architecture of Nigeria. Is it favorable for journalists to report crime? Crimes?
Yes. The security, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in that Nigeria, even though some factors are coming in to challenge that, Nigeria has one of the most vibrant media anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Vibrant journalists, vibrant media. Over the years, there have been attempts to muzzle up the press. It's not as if there have not been dark days. There have been dark days, but Nigerian media has been resilient. So they've been reporting. But the challenge now is there is this issue of secrecy when it comes to reporting security and defense sector. You know, even though there have been Freedom of Information Act empowering the media to obtain information from public institutions, there's still a caveat that shields the security agencies from this scrutiny, but not all, even though they are stretching it. For example, the issue of corruption in the security institutions are meant to be reported by the media. But because of this aspect of secrecy to guide national security, a lot of these things are embedded into it. But it doesn't cover the need to expose the corrupt tendency, because if you don't expose it, more soldiers will die, money will be that are needed to buy equipment will be wasted, and enemy will still be taking over the territory of the country. By then, it has undermined the security. But sometimes the security sector or agencies feel that they are trying to expose leaking the state secret. But that's why I say collateral damage.
You talked about secrecy of information when it comes to security. Now, at what point should the Freedom of Information Bill come into play? That's
what I'm saying. The Freedom of Information Bill, even though journalists have not maximized the leverage, the FOI Act, that is an act now, it's a law, FOI Act give to, and even any private citizen, one, because of some limitations, one from the media houses themselves, they've not been educated enough to activate that act, to make use of it. I see that it's more the civil society organizations that making more use of it, even though at the end, when they get that information, they still collaborate with the media to get it out. So in a way, the media is still involved. But sometimes they don't know how to go about it. Then secondly, when it comes to the security and intelligence sector, like I say, there's a caveat in that FOI that try to shield them, that some certain area, the FOI Act doesn't include those certain areas of the security, but not all. That's why I'm saying they've taken advantage of it to overstretch it, to cover like a blanket in all aspects of it. No, it doesn't cover all aspects of it. There are some information that are needed for the public consumption that must be made known. Available, yes.
Okay, now state policing, community policing, regionalization, policing as well, all in the bid to fight crimes. Is the media sensationalizing security issues or just leaving a task to the government?
The media is not sensationalizing it. It's because the media is reporting it, and that's why it's in the front burner. That's why you feel it's being sensationalized. But there is a vacuum of active media driving the agenda, and lethargy on the part of the government that's supposed to drive this agenda, dragging. The problem are mushrooming almost on daily basis.
All right, Senator Iregu, I'm sorry, this isn't much I can take from you. I wish we had more time.
It's a big topic to really...
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Remember, be alert and report any suspicious movements to the police.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain on this episode of the program. It has been an exciting one for me. Elizabeth, how about you?
Well, just a quick one. Fighting crime should not be left to the government alone. It is a responsibility of everyone. So let's fight crime together. Indeed, it is the responsibility of everyone in the country. Well, that's it for now. Do join us same time next week for more on Inside.